Alright, what's up guys? Welcome to another episode of Squid Game in Unity. So for those who don't know, Squid Game is a TV show made by Netflix in 2021 where contestants compete in a series of games for a big money grand prize. The game we're making today is Red Light, Green Light.
병신 걸렸네.
So in the show, players are allowed to move forward after the eerie doll says green light, and they must stop when she says red light. Players will be eliminated if any physical movement is detected after the doll says red light, and the players have 5 minutes to get across the playing field to the next round. I'm not sure if I'm going to have it be voice or not. I think I may have it just be a text thing that says red light, green light, but again, this is a mobile version. It's not trying to duplicate the actual show, and I'm making a disclaimer right now that this is just for fun. This is not being published. Netflix, please don't sue me. That being said, the way that the series is going to work, if you watched the last episode, you'll know already, but the way that the series works is I introduce the game, I do a time-lapse of making a very rough version, and then I clean it up. So we're gonna move over to Unity, where I have the level screen all set up, and we're gonna head into red light, green light. So I will see you guys once I have a rough version of red light, green light. Alright, so as you guys can see, it has been quite a while since I touched this. It Admittedly, I think I started this mid-March. It is now beginning of May. But I'm here. I'm trying to get this done. But I just spent probably about an hour to an hour and a half developing the like rough draft version of red light, green light. So I'm gonna walk you guys through that and how it works. So just to show you guys what this actually is, you start off at red light, then you go to green light, you tap the screen, it moves, then it goes to red light again, and then it goes to green light, and you can move. You're not supposed to move when it's red light, but I'll keep holding it down to show you what happens. You lose the ability to move, and it says game over. So, oh good, it did stop. Cool. But as you can see over here, it says game over. So in the final version, that'll pop up a game over screen with the play again. But yeah, so that's basically it. And as you can see, I have the timer here. I'm actually going to go into the code. Real quick, I'm just going to try, make sure the change that I made does actually work. Yep, it does. Cool. So I'm going to walk you guys through a little bit of like the basics of the code and how it works. So I'm going to start with the camera. Basically, let me get rid of this, and then I can do that, see if I can make it a little bit easier. Basically, I have the target transform, and then in the start, I'm defining, it says this.transform because this is the camera object that the script is attached to. Essentially, I'm setting in the start function, I'm setting the rotation to be 0 degrees in both Y and Z, and then 25 degrees in X. And I'm setting the position to be the position of the player with a little bit of an offset, and then in the update, I'm basically having the camera follow the player, and I'm doing it smoothly using vector3.lerp, which basically makes it so that it's smoother and a lot less jittery. I've used that in games a lot. Moving over to our... Actually, the next thing I'm going to do is talk about the game manager. So this is where a lot of the logic happens. So I have the instance, which means that I can call it from other scripts, like I do in the UI manager and player scripts. Then I have can be moving, game over, and then time left. In the show, it is 5 minutes, so I tried to keep it like legitimate to the show. But can be moving is basically the toggle for between red light and green light. Game over obviously signals whether the game is over or not. Then time left is your time limit. Just walking through with the start functions basically just defines instance so that you can call it. That starts the coroutine wait logic. So wait logic basically says while the game is not over, so while the game is happening, there's a random number of seconds to wait between 3 and 4. I tried to add in some variability, but when I was playing through it with like no variability, or between like, I think I had it at 1 and 4, it was really hard because it was hard to predict when it was, so you would almost always lose. And I want this to be fun more so than like accurate. And then basically it waits for those seconds, and then it switches can be moving to not can be moving. So if it's true, it's false. If it's false, it's true. And then the update function, it's basically just a bunch of logic for is the game over and decreasing the time. So that loop goes through if time is greater than 0, so if there is time left, and the game is not over, then it decreases the time. And if the time left is less than 0, then time left is equal to 0, the game is over, and it stops the wait logic. going into the player script, which is what actually happens when you like tap the screen, I have the rigid body defined. So a rigid body in Unity is something that essentially makes it so that something can move. You can hard code it, but rigid body makes it way easier to do that. It also allows you to interact with like physics, so I could have it use gravity, and I can have colliders, which I'll end up using at the end when I put like a formal finish line in, and it's not like players just falling off the plane. But then I just have a boolean that says game over, and it's just equal to the thing from the game manager. I just have that set so it's less characters I have to type. And then this is the code for the mouse button up and mouse button down. So when you tap the screen, it sets the velocity to 7 in the Z direction, and then when you stop pressing the screen, you stop moving. Then this block of code right here sets the player velocity to 0 when you lose the game. And then down here is just essentially the code for if the velocity is not 0 and you're not supposed to be moving, that sets game over to true. So that's simple. And then here is the UI manager. Basically, again, you have the can be moving thing. It's the same thing from game manager, just again, less characters. And then I have some text objects up here, so color text, color panel, and timer text. This is just the color panel stuff. If you're not supposed to be moving, it says red light. If you are supposed to be moving, it says green light. And then down here is just the logic for the little timer screen. It says float time remaining. So again, you just take the time remaining from the game manager, and then it converts it to minutes and strings, or to minutes and seconds, and then I essentially just put that through the timer text. So that is all that this game is. This is a really simple game. There were actually a couple more things now that I'm recording this that I meant to do for the rough draft that I didn't get to do. Or not didn't get to do, but forgot about before I recorded this. So I'll add those in. In the game, there is, at the end of the plane, there's like a doll that's turning around, so I'll have to find like a doll asset that I can use. It won't be the actual Squid Game run one, I don't think. I think I'm gonna have to pay money for that. But having that in the finish line are basically the only other two features I need to add, and everything else is just adding like a start game logic, how to play screen, I think. So yeah, I'm gonna go add those things, and I will see you guys when we have an actual finished product. guys. I apologize in advance for my slightly raspy voice. However, as you can tell, I did not finish this while I was still at college, so I'm home from college now. And, yeah. I have the finished game made, as you guys saw me making that. So I'm gonna walk you guys through it a little bit. It is not perfect. I decided that I'm not gonna do like a game over screen or anything like that, because no one's really gonna be playing this. This is really for me to just sort of explore and make a fun YouTube series and build my Unity skills. So I didn't really see the point in taking another like 20-30 minutes and making a game over and continue screen, when all I'm going to be doing is really playing it through the editor to show you guys, and then I'm probably not going to touch it again. That being said, let's head on over to Unity. As you can see, we now have the Squid Game doll, and I have a player avatar. Again, in order to make the avatar look correct, I would have had to do a lot of learning how to animate like rigs, which I could have done, but I didn't necessarily feel like it. And this isn't going for perfectness, this is going for sort of looking at the logic behind the game, which I feel like this is doing. This talked about the logic, and that's game over. But as you can see, the doll spins around, like the doll does in the show, and I have a sky background, and I have the sand ground. Walking through a little bit of what else I did. There's not really anything else I did in the game manager. The only other thing I changed in the player script is so that on a collision where the player is colliding with that little red finish line, it triggers an event that sets game over to true because they made it through. Nothing else changed in the UI manager. And then the only other piece of programming I had was this doll script. So basically all it did was track the can move thing, and then depending on if can move was true or false, it sets the target Y to either 0 or 180 degrees, and then it basically just creates the new angle and has the doll model rotate to the angle. I'll zoom it in a little bit. That was really the only extra bit of coding. All of the rest of it was models and images. But guys, that is the completed red light, green light game. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.